Hello, welcome everyone. I'm so glad you could join us for our warm-up video. My name is Amanda Littell-Clark. I'm really delighted to be with you today. We'll be doing a relatively short sequence of ways you can warm up your body. You could do this every day just to feel good, to increase your mobility, or you could do this right before you practice yoga or do a different type of workout. But it's really great if you've been sedentary and then you're thinking about doing some movement to do something like this, some kind of mobility and gentle stretching and moving exercise before you get into something that's more intense. So we will be working starting with the feet and working our way up our body. If you're not already in a standing position, you could come into a standing position. You could stand on a mat or on a floor. You could also stand on a rug if you think that rug is stable enough that you won't be slip sliding around at all. You also could adapt these movements and do them in a chair, a stable chair, or you could put a chair near you with the back close by so that if you need to reach over for some support at any point, you could do that. So let's get started. I hope you enjoy this. So starting with the feet, start by raising the toes up and down. It could be a very small movement and that's totally fine. We're in no hurry and we're not in a competition. Raising the toes up, letting them fall to the mat. Up and down and up and down. And when you raise them up, if they were with your hands and you tried to spread your fingers, could you do something like that with your toes? So maybe 1 foot at a time, raising the toes and then trying to spread the feet, the toes, articulating the toes and then lowering them down. And then on the other side, raising the toes and trying to fan them out and lowering. Then you could stretch the arch. So begin by raising one heel and then raising the other heel. And try that again on each side. There you go. And then you could even rock back and forth, so raising the toes and then raising the heels. If that feels like you need a little balance assist there, feel free to hold onto a wall or use a chair or do 1 foot at a time. You could also move the feet from side to side, and that helps us identify where is the outside of our foot, where is the inside edge of our foot, so that we have a good idea of where the footprint is, what parts of your foot are touching the mat. And maybe you even take your toes and sort of grab at the mat a little bit. We do that sometimes in yoga to help with our balance. The toes are actually holding onto the mat, and that gives us a little more stability for doing some of our standing or other balance poses. Great. So taking the 1 foot and pointing and flexing the foot, and this does not have to be a ballerina style point and flex, whatever works for you. You can place the ball of the foot on the ground and then rotate around with the ankle. You may feel some movement in the knee and also maybe in the hip joint. So just take it very gentle, circle around a few times, find a place to pause, and then head in the other direction. So taking a nice gentle rotation that involves most of the leg at this point. And then intentionally placing that foot back down on the floor. Coming to the other foot with a point and a flex, maybe out to the side, a point and a flex, point and a flex. And then placing the ball of the foot on the ground and doing that small, maybe slow rotation around in one direction. And you see it's involving the knee, it's involving the hip to some degree, and then find a place to pause and head in the other direction. A few more times and then bring the feet back together. We'll be coming up into our knees. So feet are placed at a comfortable distance, starting to bend the knees any amount. There's no need to bend very deeply here. You could bend a little bit and come out of it, and then bend a little bit more and come out of it. As we do all of these motions, we're also identifying whether there's any areas of our bodies that feel a little sensitive today, a little tender. Maybe you know the reason for it, maybe you don't. It doesn't really matter, in the sense that as long as you identify that those areas are feeling a little bit sensitive today, you can make a note to yourself to take it easy on those areas. Don't push it, be kind. So knees can bend and then straighten one more time, and then spreading the feet out at a little bit of a distance. It doesn't have to be super far, and you could always hold on to your chair. Starting to bend one knee at a time. Your feet are pointed out towards the front, and then bend to the other side. And again, bending any amount, and you can bend over towards one side and hang out there for a breath or two. Maybe that's starting to awaken some inner thigh muscles, for instance. And then the other side. Or you can make the bends less deep and more flowy, and you could move from side to side, really however you would like to do this movement. And then coming back to center, and heel toe towards the center. So feet end up about hips width distance apart, and we'll move up into the hip area. So we think of our hips in this girdle here, the pelvic girdle, and they can sway from side to side. Maybe you bend your knees a little bit, and you kind of rock and forth, back and forth. I think of it like a pendulum on a clock. So doing a small movement here or a little bit bigger, whatever is working for you today, taking inventory of your hips. And then if you wish, you can add a front side, back side movement. So you're really making a full circle with the hips. This can be a very small movement, small and slow, or big and faster, however you like it. Like being a kid again, having a hula hoop and having it go around your waist. And then find a place to pause and go to the other direction. So front side, back side. You can always, again, hold on to a chair or a wall if you need a little help with balance. Knees are bent because they're helping you balance as you rotate around with your hips. Wonderful. Coming back to center, you could start to loosen up the hip joint a little bit by raising up the legs, bending the knee one at a time. Arms can be really anywhere you like. You could hold on to a wall or the chair to rotate the hip. See how it's the hip that does the rotation here around one way and then the other way. And these can be very small movements to be very effective. So many times our hips get so tight, and just taking a few moments to loosen them in this manner can feel really, really nice. And then moving to the other leg. If you don't want to hold on to a chair or a wall, it can be an added balance challenge. You can put your foot down at any point and then bringing the leg back around to the other side, other way, and then bringing the foot down. Great. So now we've moved up from our hips, we're into our torso area. So meaning the whole core and the sides of your ribs and your back, working with the torso. We're going to do a gentle torso twist. So be very aware of how your back feels when you do this, because it's a spinal rotation, but it can be a very subtle and small spinal rotation if you want it to be. So starting, keeping the feet are pointed forward, but the knees are very, very accommodating here. So you're able to bend the knees, they're not locked in any way. When you're ready, starting to twist the torso to one side. So your head points in that same direction. And then when you're ready, twisting to the other side. And you see how I say this can be a very small movement? It's true. So you can go slower, you can go faster, you can bend your knees more deeply, you can lift the opposite heel. So if I'm facing in one direction, the opposite heel can come off the mat, and that may help you feel a little more flowy. And so continue at your own pace here. Torso twist, or we call this willow because Now that our arms are flowing, it feels like we're a willow tree and we're blowing in the wind. And don't forget to breathe here. That's always very important. So taking your own breaths and releasing them. And then when you've completed and you would like to come back to the center, just rotate slowly and small, getting smaller, 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 and you're back to the center, and you can heel toe your feet in. Now we'll come up to the shoulders and the arms. So starting with the shoulders, just raising them up and letting them drop, and raising them up and letting them drop. You can do this one shoulder at a time or both at a time. And then you could start to rotate the shoulder. So see what that feels like. Maybe you haven't rotated your shoulder in a while. What does this feel like for you? And does one shoulder feel different than the other when you do this? You could do them both at the same time or one at a time. When you've done a few on one from front to back, then start by back to front. Again, one at a time or both at the same time. You could also place your hands on top of your shoulders just very lightly, and you could do a shoulder rotation in that position. And that starts to involve more of your torso, muscles along your ribs and your sides. See what that feels like, and then the other direction. I like to think I'm swimming in a beautiful ocean on a warm day. And you could even do swoopy arms, big arms with long, straighter arms. And the other direction. And you'll feel some of this is starting to get up into our necks a little bit, so we'll get there in a moment. Now raising our arms out to more of a T shape. So our arms are parallel to the floor, fingertips stretching out wide in either direction. Start by pushing away against imaginary walls. So your fingertips point up and you can feel the stretch in your inside wrist. And then point the fingertips down, feeling the stretch in your outside wrist. And then taking a wrist rotation. Again, be very gentle here. Our wrists are so important to us. Sometimes they feel better than other times. And if your wrist just is not feeling like this today, just take it very easy. Maybe do some hand fists and then release, fist release to the sky, and then fist release down below. Then stretching both arms out to the side, fingertips wiggling to the side, energy radiating out the sides. And then on the exhale, crossing the arms over the body to any amount and giving yourself a hug. And we'll do that again. So inhale, reach out to the sides, and then exhale, hug. And finally, one more time. Inhale, get really big. And exhale, hug. And then releasing the arms. So we'll come up into the neck and chin area. So bringing the chin a little bit closer towards your chest and just holding it there, pausing, not forcing anything, seeing what that feels like. And when you're ready, moving your head to one side and then the chin back to the center and then head to the other side and back to center. So continue with these head rolls. This is basically the bottom of a circle where the head goes to the left and center and to the right and center. Do this at your own pace. We're trying to energize the neck and do a little bit of a stretch without hurting ourselves, without forcing anything. And the neck, as you may know, and the tops of shoulders can be parts of our body where we hold a lot of tension. So that's why we want to take extra care. Neck and head comes back to the center and then roll back up so your head is on the top of your body. And now we'll take our arms up to the sky. So raising the arms in forward in front of you, palms facing each other, fingers spread, maybe even reaching up and grabbing something an imaginary something with your fist. And then on the exhale, bring those arms down, bend the knees, let the arms swing down, and throw whatever you had in your hand down towards the floor. So we'll do that a couple more times with the breath. So inhale, raise up, grab something out of the sky, maybe looking up, and exhale, throw it down. Let your arms whoosh down. And one more time, inhale, rising up, making the fist, and then exhale, whoosh, let it all out. Then when you're ready, tucking your tailbone and slowly rolling up to stand. And then finally in our warm-up, we'll shake everything out a little bit. You're welcome to use your chair. You could shake one arm at a time, or maybe an arm and a leg, or maybe you shake more limbs at a time, trying to, get some energy flowing in the fingers, moving the toes and the foot around, just kind of letting it all out, maybe shaking your shoulders, maybe shaking your hips. It's okay to move your neck, but just be very gentle with your head. We don't want to throw that around at all. So when you're finished, coming back to center. And I'm so glad that you were able to join me for this warm-up video. Please think of it whenever you need a little mobility break, or if you're headed into a yoga practice, it will get your blood flowing a little bit and wake up your body in a way that will really feel nice, however you use it in the rest of your day. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time.